Right now, the single most powerful number deciding how much money the government of Canada puts into your bank account every month is not your income. It is not your savings. And it is not how many years you worked. It is the year you were born. That one number, your birth year, quietly moves you across a series of invisible lines as you age. And every time you cross one, the amount of your old age security changes. A new payment opens up or a new trap appears. And here's the part that should make every Canadian over 60 stop and pay attention. Almost nobody is told when they are about to cross one of these lines. The letter does not always come. The extra money is not always automatic. And the year that decides it all is sitting right there on your birth certificate. Because here is what almost nobody realizes about old age security. Most people think of it as one flat check that just shows up at 65 and stays the same forever. It is not. It is a moving staircase. It changes at 60. It changes at 65. It changes again quietly and automatically at 75. There is a decision hiding between 65 and 70 that can raise it by more than a third for the rest of your life or cost you thousands if you get it wrong. And there is one income line, one single number on your tax return that can quietly claw a chunk of it back without a single warning letter. 5 lines. Your birthday is walking you across all of them. And the system is built so that you have to already know they are there. And I want you to feel why this matters, because this is not really about percentages. For a senior living check to check, being on the right side of one of these lines instead of the wrong side is the difference between a winter where the heat stays on and a winter where you are sitting in a cold kitchen deciding between the hydro bill and the grocery bill. It is a payment you were owed for years that finally arrives, or one that never comes because nobody told you to ask. This is your security, your dignity, your ability to stay in your own home. And it turns on lines most people never even know they are crossing. So stay with me right to the end, because there are 2 of these lines that matter more than all the rest. There is one that clicks in automatically at 75 and puts more than $800 a month on the table, and thousands of Canadians who qualify have no idea it is even a thing. And there is one income line near $95,000 that can quietly reach back and take part of your OAS away a full year after you cross it when you have already spent the money. I will show you exactly where both of those lines sit and how to stay on the right side of them, but only if you do not drift off before we get there. So here is what I'm going to give you. By the end of this video, you will have the whole map, the exact thing your birth year does to your money at 60, at 65, at 75, the one decision in between that is worth more than any other, and the $95,000 clawback line that catches careful people every year. Real numbers, real dates, and the exact move at each one. Now let me be straight with you before we start, because there is a lot of noise online about this and fear sells. None of what I am about to tell you is some shocking new law that appeared overnight to take your money. These are ordinary, predictable, built into the system milestones, the kind of thing that has been true for years. But ordinary does not mean harmless, because the quiet truth of the whole retirement system in this country is that it will happily let you sit on the wrong side of a line or miss a payment you qualified for years, and it will never once phone you to fix it. Knowing where the lines are is the entire game. And before we get into it, do me one quick favor. If you are over 60 or your parents are, hit subscribe and give this a like, because it genuinely helps me get this in front of the people who need it. And honestly, this is the kind of video that is worth sending to someone you love. And tell me your province down in the comments, because a few of these amounts vary a little depending on where you live. My name is Felix. Quick and honest introduction. I am not a financial advisor. I am not from the government, and I am not here to sell you a dream. I spent years working inside the world of Canadian retirement, tax, and benefits. And I read the fine print on what Ottawa and the CRA are quietly doing with your money, so you do not have to. So let us walk your birth year across all 5 lines in order, starting with the first one, the one that arrives 5 years before most people think anything even begins. But before we do, let me hand you the quick map so you can place yourself, because self-identifying is half the value of this. In 2026, if you were born around 1966, you are hitting the age 60 line. The allowance window opens. Born around 1961, you are hitting 65. OAS and GIS begin. Born in the years between roughly 1956 to 1961, you are sitting right inside the deferral decision, the 65 to 70 stretch where the biggest choice lives. And if you were born around 1951, you are turning 75 this year and crossing into the automatic 10% raise. Find your year in that list, hold on to it. And as we go through each line, you will know exactly which one is yours right now and which ones are still coming. Line 1, age 60. If you were born around 1966, you are crossing it about now. And most people cross it believing there is nothing to do until 65. That is a mistake that can cost a low-income senior thousands of dollars. Because between the ages of 60 and 64, there is a benefit almost nobody talks about called the allowance. If you are in that age band, 60 to 64, your income is low and your spouse or partner is already receiving the guaranteed income supplement, you may be able to claim the allowance, a monthly payment meant to bridge you to 65, and it can be worth well over $1,000 a month. And there is a version of it for people in that same age band who have lost their spouse called the allowance for the survivor, worth up to around $1,600 a month for a widow or widower on a low income. Here is why it matters so much. It is not automatic. Almost nobody knows it exists. And every month you qualify and do not apply is money gone for good. Let me make that real for you. Picture a woman of 62, call her Diane, whose husband passed 2 years ago. She is living on a small workplace pension and nothing else. Still 5 years short of her own OAS, watching every dollar, she assumes there is simply nothing out there for her until she turns 65 because that is what everyone told her. And for 2 years, she has been quietly eligible for the allowance for the survivor, potentially over $1,000 a month, and has not claimed a cent of it because no letter came and nobody at any counter ever mentioned it. That is not a rare story. That is the single most common way money is left on the table in this country. A low-income person in their early 60s who thinks the system does not begin until 65. So the move at line 1 is simple. If you or someone you love is between 60 and 64 and getting by on very little, especially if a spouse has passed or is on GIS, do not wait until 65. Check the allowance now. And if you think you have already missed months of it, ask anyway because some of it can be paid back. Line 2. Age 65, born around 1961. This is the big one, the front door. This is where old age security itself and for lower income seniors, the guaranteed income supplement actually begin. The full OAS pension at 65 in 2026 is about $740 a month, and it is adjusted every 3 months to keep up with the cost of living. And here is the mistake that catches so many people right at this door, and it is a painful one. A lot of Canadians assume OAS just starts on its own the month they turn 65. Sometimes it does. Service Canada automatically enrolls some people and sends a letter, but not everyone. If you do not get that automatic enrollment letter, you have to apply. And if you do not, your pension simply does not start and you can lose months of payments before you realize the check was never coming. So the move at line 2 is this. In the year before you turn 65, check whether you have been automatically enrolled. If no letter arrives, apply. Do not assume. And the same goes for the guaranteed income supplement, which tops up OAS for lower income seniors, but is tied to filing your tax return every single year. Miss a return and your GIS can stop cold even after years of getting it. I have seen exactly that happen. A widow in her 70s living almost entirely on OAS and GIS has a hard year, gets overwhelmed, and does not file her taxes on time. She has not earned any more money. If anything, she has less, but because the return that GIS is calculated from never went in, the system simply switches her supplement off. Her income does not drop because she stopped qualifying. It drops because a form did not arrive. And the fix is almost insultingly simple. File the return, even a late one, even with almost no income on it, and the GIS can be restored, often backdated. So please hear this if you take nothing else from line 2. For a low-income senior, filing your tax return every single year on time is not paperwork. It is the thing that keeps your monthly income switched on. Now, before line 3, Remember what I told you to stay for? The 75-year line that puts hundreds more on the table and the $95,000 line that takes money back. We are getting there, but line 3 is the one I most want you to understand because it is a decision, not just a date. And it is worth more money than almost anything else in this entire video. Line 3, the stretch between 65 and 70, the deferral decision. Here is something most people have no idea they are even allowed to do. You do not have to take OAS at 65. You can choose to delay it right up to age 70. And for every single month you wait, your pension grows by 6%. That does not sound like much until you add it up. Wait the full 5 years to 70 and your OAS is 36% bigger for the rest of your life. That turns a $740 pension into roughly $1,000 a month permanently indexed to inflation, guaranteed by the government for as long as you live. For a healthy senior who has other income in their 60s and expects a long life, that is one of the best deals in the entire retirement system. But, and this is the trap, so hear me out, deferral is not automatically the right move for everyone, and getting it wrong cuts both ways. If your income is low and you would qualify for the guaranteed income supplement at 65, delaying your OAS can mean giving up GIS money in those years that you can never get back. And GIS is not something you want to defer. And if your health is poor, waiting for a bigger check you might not live long enough to collect can be the wrong bet. Let me show you both sides of it with 2 quick people because the same decision goes opposite ways depending on the life. Take Robert, 65, healthy, still doing a bit of consulting with a decent RSP, and long-lived parents. If Robert delays his OAS to 70, he locks in that 36% bigger check for what could easily be 25 or 30 more years. For him, deferral is very likely the smart, almost free upgrade, and he has other money to live on in the meantime. Now take Margaret, 65, in poorer health with very little income, the kind of income where GIS would top her up. For Margaret, delaying OAS would mean giving up GIS dollars in her 60s that she badly needs and can never recover, all to chase a bigger check she may not be around long enough to enjoy. Same rule, opposite answer. There is even a rough break even to keep in mind. Deferring only pays off if you live well past your early 80s. So your health and your family history genuinely matter here. And one more thing worth knowing, you can defer your CPP the same way, right up to 70. And it grows even faster than OAS while you wait. So the move at line 3 is not always defer. It is understand that this decision exists. Run your own numbers, your health, your other income, whether GIS is in the picture, and make it on purpose with your eyes open instead of just letting OAS switch on at 65 by default because nobody told you there was a choice. Line 4, age 75, born around 1951. This is the first of the 2 big ones I promised you, and it is pure good news, which is exactly why so few people notice it. When you turn 75 in this country, your old age security automatically goes up by 10% permanently. Not because you applied, not because you filed anything, just because you crossed the line. That 10% lifts the maximum OAS from around $740 a month up to more than $820 a month for those 75 and older, and it stays there and keeps getting indexed for the rest of your life. Now here's the part worth saying plainly. Because it is automatic, most people never even register that it happened. They do not check. They do not celebrate it. And worse, some people who should be getting it because they have OAS and have turned 75 never confirm that the increase actually landed. So the move at line 4 is this. If you or a parent are 75 or older, pull up an OAS statement and confirm that the higher boosted amount is actually what is being paid. It should be automatic, but should be and is are 2 different words when it comes to government payments. And the only person who is ever going to check is you. And that brings us to line 5, the one you have been waiting for and the only one on this whole staircase that takes money away instead of giving it. This is the OAS clawback, and its real name is the recovery tax. Here's how it works and why it catches so many careful, well-organized seniors completely off guard. Once your net income for the year climbs past $95,323, that is the 2026 line, the government begins clawing back your OAS at a rate of 15 cents for every single dollar you go over. And here is the cruel part, the part that makes it a trap instead of just a tax. It is not on your OAS statement. You will not see it there. It is calculated quietly off line 23,400 of your tax return, and it very often does not hit you the same year. It shows up as a reduced OAS check a full year later after you have already spent the money you earned. The classic way people get caught is a single big year. You sell a property or you pull a large amount out of an RRSP or an RIFF in one go. Your income spikes over that line for just 1 year, and 12 months later, your OAS quietly shrinks. And you have no idea why. So the move at line 5 is about timing and awareness. If you are anywhere near that $95,000 line, do not take a giant lump sum out in a single year if you can spread it across 2. Look at pension income splitting with your spouse to bring your individual income back down under the line. Let me put a face on it because this one is so avoidable it hurts. Picture a man of 68, call him Tom, who decides to finally do the kitchen he has been putting off and pulls $40,000 out of his RRIF in one go to pay for it. His normal income is comfortable, but nowhere near the line. That one withdrawal, though, pushes his income for that single year up over $95,000. He does the renovation, enjoys the new kitchen, forgets all about it, and then a full year later, his OAS checks quietly come in smaller month after month, and he cannot, for the life of him, work out why. Nobody sent a letter. The recovery tax just reached back and took its 15 cents on every dollar he went over. Now here's the thing. If Tom had simply taken $20,000 out in December and $20,000 in January, the same money split across 2 tax years, he might have stayed under the line both years and kept every dollar of his OAS. That is the whole game with the clawback. It is not about earning less. It is about not letting your income spike over that line in any single year. So look at pension income splitting with your spouse, which can move income off your return and onto theirs to pull you back under. Spread big withdrawals across calendar years. And most of all, know the number is there before you make a big financial move, not a year after when the check has already been cut. Now I want to pull one more thread because it ties the whole staircase together and answers the question in a lot of your minds. What actually changed this year in 2026 versus last year? 2 things mainly. First, the amounts themselves went up because OAS and GIS are indexed to inflation and adjusted every 3 months. So the exact figure on your check this year is a little higher than last year. And if it did not move at all, that itself is worth a phone call. And second, one of the benefits many seniors receive alongside OAS, the old GST credit, has been renamed as of the summer of 2026. It is now called the Canada Groceries and Essentials Benefit. Same idea. Largely the same money. New name, but I mention it because when a familiar benefit suddenly shows up under a different name on your statement, a lot of seniors panic and think something has been taken away when nothing has. It is the same payment wearing a new label. So let me take a breath here and say the honest thing, because being straight with you is the whole point of this channel. I have just handed you a lot of numbers, and I know that for some of you the worry is not which line am I near, but I think I am already past all of them and I have probably missed things. If that is, you hear me clearly, it is very often not too late. Many of these general, the allowance GIS, even OAs itself general, can be applied for late and in a number of cases paid retroactively going back months, sometimes further. The door is not closed just because you did not know it was open. The worst thing you can do is assume you have missed it and never ask. The best thing you can do is check. And that is exactly why I put all of this, every line, every threshold, the deferral math, the exact forms, and the phone scripts for Service Canada into one plain English guide written specifically for Canadians over 65, the Canadian Seniors Money Playbook. I am not going to give you a hard sell, and I am not going to quote you a price here. If this has been useful and you want it all in one place, the link is in the description, and it genuinely helps me me keep making these. And I have also put a free one-page version in the description, a simple birth year map that shows you at a glance what happens to your OAS at 60, at 65, at 75, and where that clawback line sits. Print it, keep it by the phone. So let me bring the whole staircase together because I know that was a lot to hold. Your birth year is quietly walking you across 5 lines. At 60, the allowance for low-income seniors bridging to 65. Check it early, it is not automatic. At 65, OAS and GIS begin, but confirm you are enrolled and keep filing your return or the money may never start. Between 65 and 70, the deferral decision, you can grow your pension by up to 36% by waiting, but weigh it against GIS and your health and make it on purpose. At 75, the automatic 10% raise, confirm it actually landed, and past $95,000 of income, the clawback. See it coming and time your big withdrawals so it never catches you. That is the map. That is your birthday translated into dollars. And if you want the shortest possible version of what to actually do this week, here it is in 3 moves, whatever your age. 1, pull up your most recent OAS statement or your My Service Canada account online and just look. Confirm what you are being paid. And if you are 75 or older, confirm the higher amount landed. 2, make sure your last tax return is filed because your GIS, your allowance, and half of these benefits are all switched on by that one document. If you have fallen behind, that is the single highest value phone call you can make. 3, if you are near any of the edges, approaching 60, approaching 65, thinking about a big withdrawal or sitting anywhere near that $95,000 income line, do the small bit of homework or make the one call to Service Canada before the birthday or the withdrawal, not after. Almost every painful story in this whole area comes down to someone who found out 1 year too late. You have the map now, so you do not have to be that person. Now, this is general education, not personal financial or benefits advice. I do not know your income, your age, or your marital status. And these amounts and thresholds are indexed and change every quarter. The figures here are accurate as of the summer of 2026. Always confirm your own numbers with Service Canada or a qualified advisor before you make any decision, especially the deferral where your own health and income are the whole story. And do me one last favor because this is genuinely the kind of video that changes a person's year. If you know a senior, a parent, a neighbor, an old friend who is coming up on one of these birthdays or who lives on OAS and would feel that exact stomach drop if a payment they were counting on quietly shrank, send them this video today. Most of them have never seen their retirement laid out as a simple map like this. You could be the reason someone you love claims the allowance they were owed, catches the 75 raise, or times a withdrawal so the clawback never touches them. If this cleared things up, hit like and subscribe. I break down exactly what Ottawa and the CRA are quietly doing with your money every few days in plain English. No fear, no jargon. And tell me down in the comments, which of these 5 lines are you closest to right now? I read every single one. Take care of yourselves. Keep that tax return filed.